Hi, hello, how are you? My name is Yulia, for those who are new, and I'm a headhunter and a success coach in life and career. And one of the things that I do, I help people successfully land with their first job, especially if they're immigrants. I am an immigrant myself, and I remember how hard it was for me to find my first job within the industry that I was passionate about in a new country without having local experience or even without having a sustainable local education. Recently, as a headhunter, I got an offer for one of my candidates who just moved to Canada 2 months ago with his family, with his wife and a young child. And this offer was exactly in the industry he was looking for, and his offer had a 6-figure salary. And today I'm here to tell you that in case you're an immigrant, in case you just moved to a new country, it is absolutely possible for you to do the same. I will be giving you the best tips on how to land at your first job in a new country successfully. These tips that I will be giving you are relevant to those people who are moving to a country within the Commonwealth, who are moving to Northern America, that is States or Canada, and also the majority of European countries as well. So let's get into them. First thing first, as a recruiter, I just have to put it out there. The first tip that I have for you is to find a recruitment agency that specializes within your field of experience and knowledge. In most cases, recruitment agencies will definitely have connections with the management team at the companies that you're wishing to apply for. And what recruiters and headhunters can do for you is they can get your resume in front of the management team and skip the HR stage. I have no idea what HR is doing with those resumes of highly qualified candidates that do not get interviews. Whether these resumes get lost, whether HR people are getting confused on the skill set that they're looking to fill. Recruitment agencies have way more knowledge in your industry, have way more connections with the management teams, because recruiters are the ones who are directly in the contact with the managers in the companies. Tip number 2 is to try to find all the government resources and assistance programs that you can find depending on the country and depending on the reason why you have relocated to a certain country. Some countries may have a lot of resources to support people on the initial stages of their relocation or when those people have a hard time finding jobs. I was in the hospitality industry when COVID started, and I had a hard time finding a job in hospitality industry because it was just dying down. I went to the government website and I found out that the government is offering a free education to those people who lost their jobs and cannot find jobs in their industry. They also have a lot of free resources on how to write your resume. They have a lot of resources on how to go through the interview processes. They also have connections with some of the companies and might potentially help you with getting your first employment, whether it is within your industry or within another sector. Tip number 3, in case you have the capabilities to do so, it will be good to start with some type of internship or volunteer in the field of your experience. If you have an internship program with a company, or if you are volunteering for a company with the same skill set that you're looking to fulfill in your future career, you can absolutely put it on your resume and it will count towards your experience working in the field. The next tip is for those people who don't have the capability of doing an internship program. What you can do is you can get into a shadow program with the current company you're working for. If you are working on a role that is completely irrelevant to what you were studying for in your home country or what you were doing in your home country, for example, if you're a server, if you're a customer service associate, what you could do, and that's something that I did as well before landing with my first opportunity in human resources, is I reached out to the human resources team. I was working for a big retail company in Canada and I was customer service associate. I reached out to the human resources team within the retail company and I sent an email saying that I'm very, very interested in potentially joining your HR team or growing my career with another company within human resources. I would like to get some type of experience. I wanted to shadow you maybe for a day or two just to see if it's something that I love, if it's something that I can get into in the future. I got connected with a couple of people in HR and I shadow them for a couple of days and I put it on my resume as a relevant experience working in the industry that I wanted to land in. Tip number 5, if you are working currently at a job that has nothing to do with your professional experience, try to not stay there for a very long time, because the longer you stay at that job, the more professional gap you acquire. And it doesn't matter if you like your current position and you like your current company, if you know for sure that this industry is not something that you're passionate about and something that you want to do in the future, try not to stay there for a long time, because you are creating a professional gap and many companies will be taking that into account. Now, tip number 6 is your resume. You have to absolutely master your resume because you have only one chance to impress, and your one chance is your resume. If you want some professional advice on your resume, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I will get in touch with you and we can look at your resume and see what parts of your resume could be potentially improved. But you really need to tailor your resume for a role and have 4 to 5 different types of resumes depending on the job that you're applying for. You have to keep it classic. You have to keep it as straightforward as possible. Don't be shy and try to cram everything into one page. Showcase what you've done personally in the past, be specific, but take as many pages as you need to do so. Tip number 7 can be a little bit controversial, but I suggest you to forget the advice to apply anyway, because it doesn't work. The apply anyway for this position or that position or the other does not work if you don't have relevant experience, if you don't feel confident that you will be able to do this job. Do not apply. Apply for those roles that have requirements that are relevant to your past work experience, just for your self-esteem, because you're putting your applications out there, especially if you are applying for the companies directly. These applications will be discarded. If you are working with the recruitment agency, sometimes I get a resume of people applying for one type of opportunity and I see that they don't have any experience in that role, but working for a recruitment agency, I know that this person can be a potential fit for another role, so I can contact them anyway. But if you're applying with the company directly, internal recruiters or HR professionals will not reach out to you about any other roles. Just be good on yourself. The more of those roles you apply and the more negative feedback you receive or the more silence you receive, the lower your self-esteem is and the less likely you will be encouraged to keep applying for the positions that you might potentially be actually quite qualified for. Tip number 8 is to start with smaller companies because they tend to hire people with less of a local experience up to non-local experience. What I noticed in the past is people coming to Canada and they start researching those companies that everyone knows about. They start applying for Lululemon, they start applying for Nike, and these are huge companies. The bigger the company, the more competition is. Try to apply for a company that is not so well known. Maybe it's a small company, maybe it's a 50 to 100 people company, maybe it's even a smaller company. The smaller the company, the more chances you get to actually land within your industry, because bigger companies take all the competition from the smaller companies. They take all the candidates, all the applications from these smaller companies, and the smaller companies are left with less options. This is a great chance for someone who doesn't have local experience to land in a position that is very relevant to their professional knowledge. Number 9 is super relevant to the previous tip, and this will be to look for companies in your industry locally. You can do a Google search, you can open Google Map. For example, if you're a project manager, if you've been a project manager in the past and you've been working on power generation and utility projects, and you came to Canada and you're applying for mining or oil and gas or technology or airspace or anything like that, you have less chances to land with the role because the nature of the project is so different. But what you could do instead, you can Google local companies that do project management within utilities and power generation and start applying to them directly. You can message someone on LinkedIn, especially if it's small company and they're present on LinkedIn. Go ahead and message someone from this company on LinkedIn and try to build this relationship and connection with those companies that are specializing in the industry that you've worked in the past. Tip number 10 is to keep working on your communication skills, especially on your language skills. And I know if you've just came to a new country and you're still learning the language, that's absolutely fine. Just never stop. Just keep upgrading your knowledge, keep learning new words, keep enlarging your vocabulary, keep practicing. Communication and especially language skills are one of the first reasons why people get rejected. They make mistakes on their resume, they don't present themselves well in the conversation over the phone, in the first pre-screen chat. Even if you feel like your language skills are enough for you to land with a job, try to keep working on your skills. There is always room for improvement. Tip number 11 is to work on your interview skills and especially on your presentation. So you really have to know what exactly you're interviewing for. You have to do your background research. You have to understand the essence of their role, and you have to base your presentation around this role. So if you have applied for, again, a project manager in power generation or utilities, but you're talking about your contract negotiation skills, claim negotiation skills, you're talking about working in the mining, oil and gas industry as project manager, it's not going to cut it. Your presentation has to be precise and it has to be specific to the role that you're applying for. In the pre-screen call, you have 15 to 20 minutes of someone's attention, and you really want to highlight what experience you have that is super relevant to this opportunity that you applied for. And the final tip is timeless. It's something that you've probably heard before multiple times, but it always works. It always works. It always helps. And this is to explore the market and to network. First thing first, your LinkedIn profile should always be up to date. Employers will always look at your LinkedIn profile. If you have submitted your application to the company, HR, recruiter, headhunter, manager will always go to your LinkedIn profile and make sure that it is exactly the same as what your resume says, because you can lie on your resume, but you are highly unlikely to lie on your LinkedIn profile because it's public. So make sure that you have engagement on your LinkedIn page, that all the information is updated, that you have your job titles, your dates of employment, your job description, your main job responsibilities. And on the opposite hand, try to also network in the real life. For example, I've recently spoken with a candidate and he said that he was aware of certain jobs because when he was moving to a new place and he was talking to the landlord, he was having a small talk and asking him about the companies that are specializing in his industry, and he had a couple of good suggestions from that person. You never know. Just making a small talk with people that you're engaged with, if it's your landlord, if it's a bank associate, you can always have a small talk and you can mention to people what you're looking for. You can mention your industry, your sector, and some of the requirements for the job that you're looking for. And you never know. People know other people and people know companies as well. Especially if these people are local, they will highly likely have way more knowledge than you to be able to advise you on some steps in the process. These are main 12 tips for you that will help you get successful and to land with your new job in a new country.